welcome to Tech24, the show that cuts through the geek speak to keep you updated on the digital world. I'm Rebecca BOWRING. Coming up in the programme, it's the first royal wedding of the internet age. Britain's Prince William says I do to Kate Middleton. Find out how those web-savvy Windsors are keeping us connected with their big day. Is your smartphone spying on you? Researchers find a tracking function in Apple devices. So what does Steve Jobs have to say about that? More in our Tech News Roundup. And a look at which mobile phones are on the up in developing countries. Cheap and reliable, Nokias dominate the African market. France24.com's internet editor Eric Olander shows us the most popular handsets. But first this week, the British royal family is welcoming a new member into its ranks. Commoner Kate Middleton marries second in line to the throne Prince William in Westminster Abbey. Now, when William's parents, Charles and Diana, got married some 30 years ago, families across the world gathered round their television sets to watch. But this is the first royal wedding of the internet age. Television is only part of the picture, especially as the monarchy is trying to keep up with the times. Eric Olander from France24.com is with me in the studio. Tell us a bit, Eric, about how the royal family is harnessing the power of technology.
Well, this really is a product of the digital age, and the royal family has learned a lot in the 30 years since we last had a royal wedding with Diana. That was an analog event. That was on television. It was a linear story that it has had a beginning, it had a middle, it had an end, and you watch it on TV for the most part and in the press. Well, today this is about YouTube, it's about Twitter, it's about social media, and Buckingham Palace themselves have been very astute in harnessing all those different channels. They've got their own dedicated YouTube channel, which will, of course, broadcast live, but also they've been working very closely with other broadcasters around the world to make sure that access is also provided live and making it very, very easy for the world to follow along. Including here, of course, on France 24.
Also, there's been a raft of smartphone apps. Pictures will be posted on Flickr. Google has enhanced its 3D imaging so that you can look at the parade route. And in fact, this has become a really global thing, hasn't it? I mean, in the top 10 countries searching for information on the royal wedding, we have Singapore, the Philippines, and the Commonwealth has been getting involved as well.
Well, you also have to take into account the context with which this story comes in. Now, it is a traditionally UK story, but there is global interest. And in part, it's one of the only feel-good stories that we have right now. I mean, this is a period right now of tremendous volatility in the world. We've got wars, we've got inflation, you've got all these economic problems that are going on. And so people oftentimes are looking for an escape. That's certainly what's happening in the United States, and it's happening throughout Europe outside of the UK. So in part, it's the context with which it arrives, but also the ease now in accessing this information. It's simply a click away, which it wasn't that way. You can get it on your mobile phone, you can get it on any number of iPad or tablet devices. So the accessibility of the content is also playing a very important role.
You were saying earlier about how Buckingham Palace and Clarence House, Charles's residence, they control, in effect, their own media now. Talk to us a bit about the Queen as a personality. She's somebody who's embraced technology for a long time, going back to the coronation.
Sure. Now, is it the Queen or is it the handlers around the Queen who are smart? We'll leave that to another show to discuss. But what we do know is that Buckingham Palace, and the Queen in particular, have had a very tense relationship with the press, particularly after the Diana years. And so one of the opportunities that YouTube and these digital channels present is that it allows them to communicate directly to the public, sidestepping a lot of the press that's been so critical in the past, allowing them, like a lot of politicians, and this has something been the bane of President Sarkozy and American presidents and whatnot, for them to communicate directly and not have the filter of the press. And that's been one of the big advantages, and they, again, have been very astute at leveraging these technologies.
She does seem like quite a cool grandmother, though. She has her own iPod and her own BlackBerry. Of course, Eric, the internet's open not only to those who are for the royal wedding, enjoying the event, but the anti-monarchists, and they've been getting their message out there. They've been using social networking sites to get people involved in alternative events like This Is Not the Royal Wedding parties. And in fact, one gentleman has posted a song online which rather rains on the happy couples parade.
William and Kate, I hope it rains on your wedding day. I hope the food goes off and the dress disintegrates. I hope the caterer rings to say somebody's pissed in your Beaujolais.
We're going to move on to our Tech News Roundup, and it looks like everyone is wanting some answers out of Apple. Why exactly are its devices logging their location without users knowing anything about it? Apple's been roasted over claims it tracks iPhone and iPad users. Researchers found all devices running iOS 4 secretly log location data and store it unencrypted. While Apple may not use the info, investigators could. The tech giant's now been hit with a privacy lawsuit. CEO Steve Jobs allegedly replied by email that Apple tracks no one, but Google does. He was the face of the Egyptian revolution. Now Google executive Wael Ghonim is using his newfound fame for good. The Egyptian will take a long sabbatical from the web giant to set up his own NGO tackling poverty and education in his homeland. Full steam ahead, Firefox 4, Mozilla's new browser, has chalked up 1 million downloads since being launched last month. Most were in Europe, second in North America. Withdrawal symptoms for PlayStation's 75 million gamers. On April the 20th, hackers forced Sony to shut down its gaming network indefinitely. The Japanese console maker says the attack may have compromised users' personal information. Some suspect anonymous. The group denies involvement. It's now time to talk gadgets. Eric doesn't have a new toy with him, but a classic one. Nokia phones, very popular in emerging markets.
Well, we went onto our Facebook page and the Tech24 Facebook page and asked our users what phone they wanted us to look at this week, and it came back with the Nokia 1616. This is a phone that was released last year. It's a phone that's particularly popular in emerging markets in Africa, in South Asia, and South America. It's 23 euros, between 23 and 35 euros. Most importantly, it's designed for a market that has very tough conditions. So the battery time on this, 528 hours of standby time, 8.5 hours of talk time. It goes for almost a week without a charge, but it's got a lot of functionality that you don't see on the smartphones here in Europe and in the United States, but it has a flashlight on it, for example.
Our viewer said that was very useful where electricity is not always reliable.
Not always reliable. It's also got a dust cover on it. It's a solid state rubber, so you can actually make sure that when dust and heat and water get onto it and the elements protected, it's a very simple, very lightweight, low cost, but this is why Nokia, while not doing very well here in Europe and in the United States, is exceptionally strong in Africa and developing countries.
87 of the top 100 handsets, of course, on the continent are Nokias. So many thanks for your expertise, Eric Olander. That brings us just about to the end of this edition of Tech24. Thanks for watching. Go to our website to see the show again and many others. Also, you can join in the conversation on Facebook /Tech24. That's there in English and in French. And follow Eric on Twitter @eolander. He's tweeting on China's role in Africa. Right, we return to our royal theme for our clip of the week, and one communications company has been helping to spread wedding fever with its online ad campaign. Do you remember the couple and all their bridesmaids who shimmied their way down the aisle back in 2009 to the Chris Brown song Forever? Well, Jill and Kevin's big day has been viewed millions of times on YouTube, and now a royal wedding spoof has gone viral. Spot Camilla there and Prince Charles, the Queen and Prince Harry, and of course the happy couple themselves, bumping and grinding to E17's song House of Love. We'll see you again next week here on Tech24.